Hey y'all, my name is Gabrielle. Welcome or welcome back to Gabrielle's Guide to Books. How is it already June? Like, how are we already 6 months into 2026? Where did the year go? I have no clue.
Even on the bad days, I thank God for making me brave, 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 brave.
So because we're halfway into the year, I thought I might do something special, like my past, present, and future past books that I want to reread, what are my present favorites from this year, and then what are the future books on my TBR that I want to read before the year is out. So first, we'll start with the books from the past. These are books that I want to reread. They're typically books that I will reread once a year. Like The Color Purple is a book, no matter what, I'm going to reread it every year. I got the idea from Lex Reads because she always talks about rereading books, and I'm like, how am I gonna fit in rereading books when there are books that have just come out that I want to read? And then I realized like I could just do one a month or something like that. And even though there are 6 months left in the year, I want to be realistic, and I only have 4 books that I want to reread before the year is out. So the first book is The Street by Ann Petry. I want to get in with all of the girls. All the girls are either rereading this book or reading it for the first time. And so I want to just relive the magic of this book. This book is following the story of a mother, Ludi Johnson, in the 1940s in Harlem, New York. Let me just tell y'all a quick story about The Street. So in an interview one time, I was asked about what I collected, and I said that I love to collect debut novels by Black women writers. You know, I love first editions, but I cannot always afford first editions. And so then I forgot all about this, and maybe like 3 months later, I got a package, and in the package was a first edition copy of Ann Petry's The Street. It was from a man in Tennessee that just sent me a copy of it. He was like, oh, it seems like it'll mean more to you than it does to me. And I was like, random. And we kind of became pen pals for a little bit. Just such a random story. Like life is generous. I will tell you that. But anyway, so I want to reread this book. This book has just like one of the most memorable endings of a book in general, and so I want to relive it. The next book that I want to reread is Waiting to Exhale by Terry McMillan. I have done a reread of this book before, so this book is like, to me, like one of those like OG friendship classics. Y'all know I love a book about friendships between women. This book follows Savannah, Gloria, Bernadette, and Robin. Now, this is one book that I have seen the movie for, and I really did enjoy the movie, but every time I see the movie, I'm like, honey, I wish that they had brought this part out from the book. So I just can't wait to do a reread of this one. Terry McMillan is an OG. I have most of her books, but this one just I always want to reread it. The next book is Mama Day by Gloria Naylor. I love Mama Day. I really can't wait to go back and read this book. This was the first time that I had read a book really about like root work and spirituality and all of those things sort of combined. And I just want to feel what it felt like to read this sort of for the first time, and I can't wait to read it again. The book that really needs no introduction that I want to reread is Sula by Toni Morrison. I don't even know if I have a favorite Toni Morrison book, but right now, because I'm holding this one, this is my favorite. But this might actually be the book that got me onto like loving relationships between women, friendships between women, because Sula and Nell, like, their friendship in this book was one that I definitely want to explore again. And then also Sula was just that girl, and if ever you need a confidence boost, if ever you need to say the past does not define me, I'm going forward, like, this is that book, and I just want to, just reread this one. I mean, I love this book so much. If I had a daughter, I would definitely name her Sula, okay? Okay, so now that we've gotten some of the past books out of the way, I wanted to just revisit some of my favorites from 2026. And I don't think the favorites will come as a surprise if you've been watching this channel. And I guess like a really good segue from Sula from the past to a book that I loved in the present is, of course, Kin by Tayari Jones. Another story of great sisterhood and friendship. We see a friendship and sisterhood between Nisi and Annie K. And this one, and I've talked about this one before, I have shorts on this one, but this book to me was probably one of the best books that I have read thus far this year. Again, it's one of those books that I said in my review before that it's really hard to talk about without spoilers, but I do think that this is a book that is like the definition of found family. If you need a book that is going to have you feel all the feels of relationships and friendships, this is the one. This is a book that has themes about motherhood, Black middle class, sexism, a lot of isms in this book, but I think that this one was definitely one of the best books that I have read thus far this year. And thinking about other books that are just so good that I have read this year is The Seven Daughters of Dupree. This book offers so much of the things that I love. It is relationships between women, a multi-generational story of one family of women, the Duprees, and I mean, every generation and every story, every woman in this book, just her story just is so moving, so memorable. And I'm always trying to think about who is my favorite woman from this book. Really, this book is one of the best books that I have read this year. I like it and Ken are just like neck and neck for me in terms of like books that have just been great. One more book that was so great that I read this year was Where the Wildflowers Grow by Terah Shelton Harris. Ooh, this book is one about survival and about living. It is about love. It is about loss. This is about just like living your life and just realizing that every moment is precious. And this book was so good to me, and one of those stories that is just going to stay with me. And one of the things I also love about this is takes place mostly in my home state of Alabama, and really shines a light on an area of Alabama, the Black Belt of Alabama, and Wilcox County in general, that I think needs more like known about it. I think the characters Lee and Jackson are just two characters that just capture you, and this will definitely be one of those books at the end of the year that I know I will continue to recommend. On the lighter side, I wanted to also talk about two other books that I really enjoyed this year. Probably one of my favorite romance novels this year is Big Girl Blitz from the Curvy Girl series by Danielle Allen. And Big Girl Blitz was so good. I enjoyed all 3 books in the series, but this was by far my favorite and by far one of my favorite romance books that I have read this year. It is one of the longer romance books that I have read this year, but it was sort of worth every page. I thought that this book was definitely about romance between the 2 characters, Jasmine and Lamar, but it also had this really sweet relationship between Jasmine and her Aunt Addie, and then also Jasmine and her 2 homegirls from the other books in the Curvy Girl series. So I just really love this book. I highly recommend it and think that it was just one of those ones that surprised me by how much I liked it. And I did like the rest of the ones in the Curvy Girl series, but I was just not expecting this one to be as good to me as it was. And another book that I read in the romance category that I just really enjoyed this year was When I Think of You by Myah Ariel. This was a book about 2 filmmakers. I really enjoyed this one because it was a second chance romance. I love a second chance romance. And they were young, still trying to figure it out, but just like had like the sweetest banter from the time that they like knew each other before. There was something, I don't know, maybe I'm on this like movie kick, but because they were filmmakers, there was like this question about like, what's your favorite film? And then like, what's the best film that you didn't see or something like that was the question. And you know, that was part of their like banter. But yeah, I just really loved this story, and it was one that just kept coming back to me, but just like a little bit lighter. Whew. Okay. And so now the next books that I will talk about are the future. And these are books that I want to read before the year is out. So I plan to read these books sometime in the next 6 months. I don't know where they will fall on my TBR. This is Restore Me by J.L. Seegars. I talked about this on my Sexy Girl Summer TBR, and I was kind of like on the fence about whether or not I wanted to read it because it's a biggie. It is over 500 pages, and I was like, I don't know, the story kind of sounds cute, but I don't know. But you all convinced me in the comments that I should be reading this book. So sometime before the year is out, I will definitely tackle Restore Me. I will probably do it over the summer because summer and romance just kind of go together. But this book is kind of like a second chance romance, but it follows Dominic and Sloane. And basically Dominic is Sloane's dead ex-husband's best friend. Yeah, so it sounds a little messy, but apparently they knew each other in college. So I am really interested to dive into this book, and especially after hearing you all's like love and support for it in the comments. So thank you. You have definitely pushed this up, and I will read this book before the year is out. Zeal by Morgan Jenkins is also another book that was highly recommended to me by subscribers. I can't remember how many times in my comments, but when I've asked for book recommendations, this one kept coming up, and so I was like, let me check it out. I have only read a nonfiction by Morgan Jerkins, so I am really interested to see what Zeal will offer. And Zeal is okay, it's a multi-generational novel that illuminates the legacy of slavery and the power of romantic love. This sounds like something I would definitely be interested in. So this follows Ardelia and Oliver, who in Harlem in 2019 are hosting their engagement party. And as the guests get ready to leave, he hands her a love letter on yellowing, crumbling pieces of paper. So the letters feature Harrison, who's just been discharged from the Union Army, and Tirza, the woman he loves in Mississippi. So yeah, and it seems like it is a story that might jump back and forth from 1865 and 2019. So yeah, when I read the description of this book after having so many people recommend it to me, I was like, yes, 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 this is something that I want to put on my TBR. So it is definitely a book that I will be getting to over this next 6 months. This next book, Redwood Court by Delana Dameron, is definitely a book that I initially judged by its cover. I thought that this cover was so pretty, and I decided to like read the description after that. And as you all know, I have varying luck with judging a book by its cover, so I don't know what this is going to offer. Let me know if you've read this before, but this one is a breathtaking debut. Oh, I love a debut novel by a Black woman. A breathtaking debut about one unforgettable family seen through the eyes of its youngest daughter as she comes of age in the 1990s. Now, y'all know I love a coming of age story. And the other thing that I really, once I actually read the description of this book, is that it takes place in Columbia, South Carolina. I don't think we hear enough about the 1990s in South Carolina and in Columbia in particular. I was interested in because I lived in Columbia for 3 years. And so, yeah, I'm really interested to see what this book has to offer. I'm not sure if this is YA or not, but I will definitely be interested in reading this soon. The next book I finally got my hands on, and this is Leave Your Mess at Home by Toni Morrison. I'm so sorry. I know I have mispronounced this. This is a book that I have been wanting to get my hands on for months because of Wale from, I think her channel is called The Hot Girl. Anyway, y'all, let me get back on task. I will post the name there, but because of her, I have wanted to read this, but I know from her synopsis that this is a first generation Nigerian story. Okay, so this is a story about 4 different siblings, and you know I love stories about siblings, that is asking the question, what do we owe our families and what do we owe ourselves? Oh, this is a debut. Yes. So this is a debut about forgiveness, unconditional love, and becoming who you want to be. Yes. So I know honestly that this is going to be higher up on my TBR because this is one of the books that I just really want to read. But yes, this is Leave Your Mess at Home. Something about, I feel like I told y'all that I was like in an African writers, particularly a Nigerian writers like era, like a couple of years ago, maybe like 10 years ago. I feel like I'm in that again, that these type of stories are the ones that I want to read again. Like I just want to feel something when I read. But anyway, so this is Leave Your Mess at Home. The next book is Black Candle Women by Diane Marie Brown. And this is a book that I'm actually going to be doing as a buddy read with my friend Ifrenetta. And I've done a buddy read with her for Kin, I Medusa, and then we're doing a buddy read for this for June. So I will be reading this book soon. So this is a multi-generational story, and I know a little bit about it because of the buddy read that I'm going to be doing with my friend. So it's 4 generations of this Montrose women. They don't venture far from home. They are women who use like tinctures and spells and all of those types of things. And so then the 17-year-old Nikki, she brings home a boy for the first time. but then the women have been withholding a secret, and all of this is in the jacket, but all of them have been holding a secret from Nikki that will end her relationship before it even begins. The decade-old family curse that any person they fall in love with dies. I love a family curse, a family secret, and also something that is multi-generational, and then of course anything with women. And so basically this is what the premise of this book is. So I cannot wait to read this. This book has been out for a while, actually. I know, because I had tried to read it before. It's from 2023. So yeah, I wanted to read this book before, but I have definitely now secured it for my buddy read. And then the final book, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the 6th book in my TBR. The last book that I have in my futures TBR that I want to read before the year is out is One Summer in Savannah by Terah Shelton Harris. You've already heard me talk about Terah Shelton Harris in this video. She is now an auto buy for me. This will be the last book for me to read, and I will have read up until this point her entire catalog. And so I want to read this book. It says, "Can you ever truly forgive if you can't forget?" It's been 8 years since Sarah Lancaster left her home in Savannah, Georgia, and 8 years since her daughter Alana came into this world following a terrifying assault. But when Sarah's father falls ill, she's forced to return home. You know, I love when somebody's forced to return home. While caring for her father and running his bookstore, Sarah is desperate to protect her curious, outgoing, genius daughter from the Weilers, the family of the man who assaulted her. Then Sarah is met with child, this gets juicy. Okay, so then Sarah thinks that she can succeed. Her attacker is in prison. His identical twin brother left town 2 years ago, but then Sarah learns that Jacob returns to Savannah to piece together the fragments of his family. And then their two worlds collide. Yes. Honey, yes. I'm going to be reading this. Yes, I'm going to be reading this. So I already know this is going to be good. I mean, like I said, Terah Shelton Harris, it's going to be good. I already know it. Okay, so y'all, there you have it. That's my past, present, and future. So please tell me in the comments, what's a book from the past that you want to reread? What is one of your present favorite reads of 2026? And what is a book that is on your TBR to finish before 2026 is out? So tell me your past, present, and future in the comments. But before you do, don't forget to like this video, share this video, and subscribe to this channel. Until next time, take care of yourself and stay glowing. Bye, y'all. Whew. Well, that was 12 books. I'm exhausted. Okay, no, bye for real this time. Bye, y'all.
I can't help but think that there is something more to find, more to life than what I have right here, right now. Used to call it stable.